28th day of April in downtown Alton. CJ Nasello, it's our daily show right here on RiverBender.com. Happening this weekend at the Gateway Convention Center in Collinsville, the Illinois Elvis Festival kicks off, and one of the performers who has made a name for himself traveling the world, Jimmy Holmes, joins us now from Zoom. How are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, man, I am loving this. You have made a name for yourself. You're getting ready to embark, going to Chile and going to Australia. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You know, we're just getting ready for the festival. We had the first night was last night, and it was great. Now we're getting ready for the weekend, for Friday and Saturday night, and it's going to be fantastic. So just gearing up for that, getting ready.
You know, I got to ask you, so I'm 24, and you at 24 years old performing, it's remarkable. How did you, find this style and really, make it your own, with this, I guess, I hate to say impersonation because it's really not. I mean, it's just you performing as Elvis, and it's amazing.
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, my dad was a huge Elvis fan, and he actually did the Elvis thing kind of when I was a kid for a few years. So I was pretty much brought up in it, and I was singing Elvis since I was 3 years old or so. So it's just, it's part of me now.
That's incredible. What's your favorite song to perform, if you don't mind me asking?
My favorite song to perform is probably Bridge Over Troubled Water. Is one of my favorite songs that Elvis did, and it's a very powerful song, and the crowd always loves it, so that's probably my favorite.
And too, if you don't mind me adding, the best jumpsuit of all time at Madison Square Garden with that owl, the owl jumpsuit. Oh, yeah. And one of my ring jackets for wrestling I had kind of designed to look like that. It's just beautiful. But, when you're preparing for something like this and you're getting ready, I mean, you have people that, a lot of times maybe wouldn't saw Elvis, in the, early 70s, and you have to make sure you're bringing that to life again. How do you prepare for this?
Well, you always prepare by just watching Elvis, watching the guy, because he is the thing, and what I try and do is I just try and bring like an authentic representation of Elvis in that time. And don't, go overboard. Don't make it cheesy or try and make it into something that it wasn't. When Elvis was in the early 70s, Elvis was the coolest thing on earth, man. So I just try and keep it as close to Elvis as possible. And the people that really know Elvis appreciate that, and they understand. Yeah. Well,
and too, from a fan standpoint, it's really great to see, the younger generation like yourself, really, carrying the legacy of Elvis on. I mean, there's nothing more Americana than Elvis, in my opinion,
Yeah, sure.
And,
that's for sure.
Take me through this. So how long have you been performing as a whole?
I've been performing a long time. I was on stage when I was 5 or 6 years old, and then I've always been into music, and I play guitar, piano, all that stuff. So I've performed other things other than Elvis too, but now the Elvis thing has taken off and taken me all over the world, because still to this day there's nothing that has the demand like Elvis does. He's still 46 years after he passed, he's still at the top. People love him.
Second most visited public house in the in the world, underneath the White House. And I mean, it's just incredible. And with that being said, when did it really start to take off for you? Was it a couple of years ago? When did that kind of that flame just start?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago when things started taking off, and started doing more stuff around the U.S. And then last year I was able to go to Europe for a 10-show tour in the Netherlands and Belgium, and also to Norway and stuff. So it really took off fast. It was like now we're going all over the world, and it's crazy.
Just like Elvis, just taking off and going. And how are you able to keep grounded in that too? Because you're traveling and really traveling the world, and you have to find a way to stay centered. How are you able to do that?
Well, I try and always remember that the people who are coming out to see the show are coming out to see Elvis. They're Elvis fans, and I'm up there giving my best representation of Elvis. But I always try and remember that I'm not Elvis. Elvis is the reason that these people are coming out to see me, and the reason that I get to do this. So I try and always remember that, and that keeps me
So
grounded a little bit.
that's great. And so I wanted to ask you this because so many of us, and I don't care who it is, they could be the biggest, Leonard Skinner fan or there's Van Halen, but everyone has tried to sing in the, the Elvis voice. How
Yeah.
do you was that something that you just had naturally and you had to kind of tune, or did you have to find that?
No, it was definitely a different kind of singing than I was used to. Elvis was a very unique singer in the way he sang. He could sing a wide variety of music, different genres between even like operatic stuff and then the more rock and roll. So yeah, it was a little bit of training to get his vocals down for sure.
And I was yesterday, man, I was watching one of your performances and it was Hurt. One of the most, no doubt about it, one of the most challenging, I would assume, performances. Just to get your vocals, right for that, and you're belting out that last, that last couple of seconds of that song. Is that a nerve-wracking thing? Because we all seen the Elvis in concert special, and we know how that sounded, and you're right there getting ready to do it. Does that ever go into your thought process?
Sometimes it is because on a song like that, everyone is waiting for that end note.
Yep.
You're kind of singing the whole song and you're like, you can kind of tell how your voice is feeling. So sometimes if your voice isn't feeling the best on that certain day, you're like, boy, I hope I can hit this at the end. Otherwise this whole song is wasted.
You're absolutely right. And we have a couple of text questions coming in. And folks want you to sing number one. And I don't know if I can do that to you today. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. But how is your family supporting you? Do you have a, wife, girlfriend, anything like that get you through it?
Yeah, I have a wife, and we've been married for a couple of years now, and she's really supportive of it. If she wasn't supportive of it, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But she's really supportive, and she tries and goes with me on as many trips as she can and stuff like that. So it's really good to have her be very supportive, and my parents are also very supportive of it too. So.
And, when you're going through and you're deciding, what your set list is going to be, what you're going to go out there and do, how did you come to the understanding that, this decade of Elvis, the 70s, was going to be for you? Was there a thought process, and do I do, 50s, Elvis? Do I do the 60s, Hollywood, thing, or do I go straight into the 70s? Would that ever enter your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it was, and the 70s was just always what I loved. I saw when I was a kid, I saw the documentary Elvis on Tour, and man, I just thought it was the coolest thing. Everything about it, the jumpsuits, the long hair, the sideburns, all of it, I just thought was the coolest. So I was like, you know what? If I'm ever going to do it, that's what I'm going to do right there.
I'm telling you what, that's what got me hooked too, was them in the back of the car after a tour or after a show, and they're talking through, and just, to me, you can't make that, you can't script it. That's just what, we all gravitated towards. And it's just amazing. And with that being said, with this movie coming out, has it helped get some of the younger audience back into, see some of these performances and get them in tune to just really what Elvis was?
Yeah, I really do. I think the movie helped out a lot. I think Austin Butler did a great job. I think he really studied and took the role very seriously. And I think that a lot, because I think he was on Disney and stuff, so a lot of the younger generation knew who he was. So a lot of them went out and saw the movie, and then that got them interested in Elvis, and got them watching Elvis and listening to him. So I think it definitely has helped out and got the younger generation interested, which is very, very good.
It really is. And it's just carrying, that torch. And that's why I think what you're doing is so important, because, if we lose sight of, the Elvis, century is what I'm calling it, because it really was. I mean, that is Elvis, is, the 20th century into the 21st. To have that and to save it, man, is priceless. And, thank you for doing what you can do to keep that going and carrying the torch. This weekend, when you're performing, what can we expect? How long are your sets going to be? What does that kind of look like throughout the weekend?
So it's going to be, there's quite a few guys here.
Yeah.
So to this afternoon, we're gonna all perform, and we're gonna do about 5 songs or so each. So you're gonna get to see a lot of us, and then in the evening, they're gonna, space it out a little bit more and give the guys a little bit more time to perform. But it's just gonna be top notch. I mean, everyone here is very, very good.
Yes, they are.
And very, very authentic and very professional. So everything that you're going to see at this festival is going to be the best of the best. And the production is fantastic. The live band, sound, everything is just really, really good. So, if you want to go see an Elvis show, come out this weekend for sure and check it out.
I'm telling you what. And, another thing, you segued this perfectly. I was, the first time I got really in tune with the Elvis, reenactors, the impersonators was with Sean Kluss and Bill Cherry, who is going to be performing this weekend. Yeah. Have there been, any individuals that have been doing this for some time that have given you some pointers and gone, hey, let me, what if you tweak this or what if you did that? Have you gotten any good insights from folks like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a guy who I'm from Indiana, and he lives up by me, and his name was Doug Church, and he's done Elvis for a long time, and he was very, very, very good at the vocals. So he really helped me out with vocally and kind of taught me some tricks of how he learned to sing like Elvis and everything. So yeah, it really helps out to get any advice from those guys who've been doing it for 25 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And, I don't want to keep it because I know that you got a lot to do today, and I'm really this is so cool. Take us through these upcoming tours. So how often do you travel out of the country?
It always depends, but this year it's going to be almost every month now to the end of the year. Yeah, I'll be in Chile next month in May, and then be in Australia in June. I'll leave for Norway in July, and then the UK and the Netherlands at the end of the year in October and November. So pretty much from now to the end of the year, it's packed full, and it's a lot of traveling, but it's worth it. It's great to see the Elvis fans everywhere in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And now with that being said, which, and I don't know, I'm sure, you're still gathering some data on this, but when you go to these places, does the style of the show have to change a little bit to match it? Or are they just so in tune with Elvis and love it so much and love Elvis that you can just go out there and do what you do best? Yeah,
you pretty much. I mean, you can just go out there and do it. There is certain songs over there that they like more than over here. So I found that out, and it's ones that, when I sing them over here, I don't get as great of a response from the audience, but when I do it over there, they love it. So, every country has, different songs that they like and everything, and a little bit of a different flavor, but for the most part, they love it. Anything Elvis. So
that's incredible, man. And I got one last question for you before I let you go. When you're out there and you're studying, he makes it look so effortless, whenever he's out there singing and hitting these, dropping an octave and then raising one and then coming down. And then he's doing this while, moving 100 miles an hour and everything's shaking. How do you stay fit for those performances? Because you're, in the rhythm, you're dancing, moving along. I mean, that's no easy task in itself.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I try and keep myself fit. I try and exercise every day and vocalize every day and, keep my voice in shape, keep my body in shape too. Otherwise, I'd be winded about constant in the show.
That's incredible. And, Jimmy, I really appreciate your time. I am so excited for the Illinois Elvis Festival and glad it's already underway, doing well, and this weekend going to continue that. Best of luck this year. And if you're ever back in town, you got to come back in, and we might have to get a live performance out of you next time. That's the tease.
Yeah, of course. We can get something going.
Jimmy Holmes, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks, man.
10:15 on this 28th day of April. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Our daily show rolls on after this.